For more tips for your trips, please like and subscribe.
Welcome your sketch artist, Hannah Laughlin.
Hi everyone, hello, and welcome to the Animation Academy here at the International Festival of the Arts at Epcot. My name is Hannah Laughlin, and I'm so excited to be the artist helping out today. So before we jump in, just a little bit about me. Like I said, my name is Hannah Laughlin, and I'm a senior concept artist and illustrator for Disney Live Entertainment here at Walt Disney World. So that means I get to work on bringing all the shows and characters to life, and I also partner a lot with our Imagineering teams doing artwork for the resorts. Awesome, me too. So the character we're going to be doing today would probably call some of this windy weather a blustery day. We're going to be doing a character from the 100 Acre Woods, and he is pink. Does anybody know the character? Yes, I heard a few people say we're going to be drawing Piglet. So before we start, I always like to show what it's going to look like. Head with just a basic circle shape. So we're going to drawing super lightly right in the middle of the page. Draw a circle that's no bigger than a baseball, a little bit smaller than a baseball. And you might notice that I didn't just do one circle and expect it to be perfect. Sometimes you kind of have to go around a few times, and we call that building the shape. Kind of do a few lines to try and find that perfect one. And a lot of the lines that we're going to draw at the beginning aren't actually going to make it to our final drawing. We just call them construction lines to help us kind of know placement of things. So I like to add what we call a center line. So it's just a straight line right down the middle of our character. And it helps me keep everything symmetrical and balanced on both sides. So I just did my circle, and then I drew my center line. And the next basic kind of building shape we're going to add is going to be a heart. Piglet's super lovable character. So right at the base of the circle, we're going to start a heart. And it's going to be pretty tall, and again, super light, because some of these lines won't make it all the way to the end. I do my left side of my heart coming all the way down to my center line, and then the right-hand side. And I like to break it down into really basic shapes that we're already familiar with. Kind of makes it a little bit more manageable when you get things into bite-sized pieces. And next up, we're going to add a couple ovals. So on the left-hand side above the circle, kind of at a little bit of an angle, we're going to add an oval to the top. And again, if it helps, you can kind of go over it a few times, super lightly. We can always come back and darken. And as we notice, anything we're doing to the left-hand side, we do to the right-hand side. So I'm going to also do an oval on the right-hand side. And so with a circle, a heart, and two ovals, we're kind of starting to already see the really basic shape of Piglet's head. So because of that, I'm going to go back and add just a couple more details to that basic shape. The first one's going to be a really shallow kind of like U shape at the bottom of our heart, because Piglet's head doesn't go all the way to a point, so we'll just round that off a little bit at the bottom. And then at the top, these two ovals are going to become our ears. So for the top of them, the ears come to a little bit of a point. I like to call it like a soft triangle because it's got a little bit of a round to it, so I'll show you what I mean. On the left-hand side, at the top of the oval, I'm going to have it come to a point that rounds off a little bit. One thing we'll notice when we're drawing our characters is the villains tend to be a little bit more spiky, a little bit harder edges, whereas some of our more sweet characters will have lots of soft and round edges. And really that's kind of our final shape for that ear, so I'm going back and darkening some of that shape now. And on the right-hand side, if you want, you can just keep them super symmetrical, or to add a little bit of interest, I'm going to have one of the ears kind of flopping down a little bit. So for that, we're also going to use that soft triangle idea, but it's going to be a little bit bigger. So it's going to be flat across the top. And then come down into that like V shape that's a little bit rounded on the bottom. And again, if you want to, you can keep them symmetrical, or you can have them one side a little bit more floppy. So definitely feel free to customize it, make it your own. I'm going back and darkening some of these lines now. And I'll also go through and darken that overall outline of the head. So the final outline for the head is going to be the top of this semicircle, And then we're going to follow just the outer edge of the heart down to where we drew that really shallow, kind of curved parenthesis shape on the bottom. How's everybody feeling so far? You good? I heard one great, that's good. Awesome. So now we have our head shape, and we're going to go ahead and start to add some of those features on the inside. The first being the nose. So again, thinking really round shapes. It's kind of a loose triangle, but very, very rounded on the edges. So if it helps you to draw a triangle first, you can, but I'm going to go ahead and just start with that really rounded shape right in the center. It's going to be kind of where all the points were crossing over when we first started drawing. And this will end up shading in a little bit later on. So it's kind of like between an oval and a triangle sort of shape. Right, and next up we're going to add 2 eyes, and for the eyes they're just going to be ovals on either side of the nose, and they're about the same width apart as the nose, and they're going to fall right around where that heart is, maybe a little bit under. So you can add 2 ovals for that. And if you want to, because Piglet's so happy, he's got a huge smile, sometimes the cheeks come up a little bit, so you can add 2 little rainbow shapes, or think of them as sideways parentheses, right underneath those eyes to show that his cheeks are all full and smiling. And speaking of smile, we'll also go ahead and add that smile. And for this, a good kind of way to determine where it's going to end up is going to be right on that first circle that we're using as our construction line. Is going to come in handy again. We're going to use that same shape, that parentheses shape, and kind of right around the middle where that crosses over, add a parentheses on that side, and the same on the right. One thing you'll also notice as you're starting to draw different characters is there's a lot of repeated shapes throughout. So that kind of parentheses that we're using over and over again, and a lot of times the character artists do that to create continuity in a shape. Now you can go ahead and add that big smile. So if it's a little tricky to do at once, you can always break it up into one side and then the other. Or we're going to add a big U shape all the way across. And if you want, once you get that U shape in, you can actually be done here if you want Piglet to be smiling without his mouth open. But I'm going to make one extra super happy, so I'm going to go ahead and do another U shape right underneath. It's going to be that open mouth. So we've got the 2 parentheses shape at the top to show where the smile is going to meet the cheek, and then the giant U shape followed by a smaller U shape if you'd like the open smile. Right, and then we can also see the little tongue peeking inside if you did do an open mouth. So you can add that also with that same familiar shape we've been using, that kind of rainbow or parentheses. And also if you have the open mouth, you can add another one facing the other way, right underneath if you'd like. Kind of shows the mouth open. So we got our big smile. And then if you did the open mouth, you can add in the tongue and the little chin poking there. And we really just have a couple more features on our head. We're going to add a little bit of a bridge to the nose, and that's going to be our favorite shape, the parentheses one. Just right in the middle. It's kind of following that center line that we established. Right, and now the only thing missing, maybe you have any ideas, is right at the top of the forehead, or around the forehead. It's missing? Yeah, eyebrows, which show a lot of expression for our characters. So Piglet's sometimes worried a lot, but I'm doing a very happy Piglet today, so I'm gonna go ahead and just do some arched eyebrows right at the top on both sides. And that helps kind of ground that whole upper space of the head. Right, now we can start to add in some of our final details. One of the things I like to do to help the sketch be a little bit more dynamic is add some shading, especially in the eyes. So the Winnie-the-Pooh characters have very dark eyes, so I'm just going back and shading in that oval that we drew earlier. And to shade, you just press down a little bit harder and then do a back and forth motion with your pencil. I'm also going to shade the inside of the nose, maybe not quite as dark as the eyes, but still just a nice tone to kind of separate that out as the nose and ground the face a little bit. Another area that you can shade is also inside the mouth. So if you did an open mouth just between that rainbow shape and the top, you can go back and forth to show a little bit of depth. And you can either leave the ears as is, or if you'd like, you can do a little bit of shading up there too, whatever you're feeling would look nice. And I thought, considering today's temperature, that we could add another little detail to our character to bundle him up a little bit. So I'm going to be adding a scarf around Piglet's neck so he's nice and cozy. And you can definitely feel free to customize it, make it your own. For that, I'm going to add 2 of those rainbow parentheses shapes again, right underneath the chin, but maybe it's a little bit off center, so to the right of that center line. Do 1, 2 bumps. Looks kind of like a seagull shape. And then on the left-hand side, to show a little bit of dimension to kind of the fabric, I'm going to use that same shape again, sideways. You can even add a couple of them. And the same thing to the right-hand side. And when it comes to things like the ears or the scarf, you can really do whatever you have room for. Every artist is different, so every drawing is going to be just a little bit different. So if yours might be a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, so if some of it kind of runs off the page, that's okay. It's just meant to be like a quick sketch today. So to add a little bit of layers to the scarf, where we did that first kind of couple bumps, I'm going to do some lines coming straight down. So there'll be a total of 3, 1, 2, 3, coming from each edge. And that's showing where the scarf is folded over. And then to finish it off, we'll do a U shape across the bottom. And this is where you can kind of have fun if you want to add any polka dots, or maybe I'll add a few little stripes, just with some curved lines going one direction. Fade that in. And I'm adding stripes, but you can really do whatever you want. And then because it's folded over a little bit, the stripes that come straight down might go the other way. And that's just a little bit of an extra detail. So just to recap that, I went through and added some more curves the same direction as the edge, kind of shaded every other area. And then for the piece that's coming down, and that's folded over, I made those more like horizontal stripes, the vertical and horizontal. So now just take a minute, look over your drawing. If you haven't darkened any lines yet, now's a great opportunity to go back and darken your favorite lines. Make sure everything looks good. You got your eyebrows, your nose, anything else you might be missing. And then the most important part is at the very end, when you're feeling really good about it, go ahead and sign your name in the bottom corner, because you want everyone to know what lovely work you did here today. And with that, once you get all those details in, you are pretty much done. That is a great question. I think this is my 3rd year doing the Animation Academy here at Epcot. And actually the inaugural year of the program, the first year they did the festival, I was actually in the college program. So that was like a great full circle moment. Started as a CP and then doing the Animation Academy now. So any other questions? For the festival, this one was really cute, but I think Orange Bird is another favorite. Yeah, he's probably my favorite to teach because it's a circle, so pretty simple, and so they always turn out super cute. Great. Well, thanks everyone.
For more tips for your trips, please like and subscribe.